Update time, everybody. So ignore that big boy there for a minute. So I got the hood mostly complete. I got the hardest part complete. I'm gonna be covering it with sealant just to be safe. I mean, I'm confident in you know how strong it is. It's still steel, but just to keep it from rusting, and you know, better safe than sorry, I'm gonna patch those holes in there, and the bigger one on the other side with a piece of plate steel, then bolt it through straight through here, that thinner part, and then you know, do some more sealing there. Then that's completely done, that section anyways. Skipping over that to why this whole tire's on the floor. I figured while I was waiting on the engine and wiring harness info, I needed some info and pieces. I figured I'd work on the suspension a bit. So that's currently the the 13 inches of spacers I got on each side. Just for the time being, I got the shock tower there, the whole strut removed. And it's just one big bolt. That's it. Yep. I got that removed so I can run a differential. You know, I'm gonna have to remove that piece of the actual support member back there. But I figured I can have that shock tower out so I can work on putting in a coilover just like on the back there. It's the exact same type. Same brand. The spring is 150 pounds up front here, which actually I need to lighten a lot. Or I need to get a new one. It's 100 pounds is way too stiff of a spring. But that's a whole process, and even though these are aluminum, they're really heavy. Got most of the cooling system figured out here. I'm waiting on the special 7/8 inch line, just because it seems to be harder to get, more in between sizes, just to run from there. Oop, AC line on the way. From there, just, you know, zigzagging around up to right here. So you can see I wrote 7/8 there. And then the cooling system is all plumbed in. That's it. Getting the AC lines run, and then route them back to, I guess, the evaporator or the air dryer, whatever it is. But I think I'm going to mount in the same location from the Suburban. If you can see it, that's what the shock tower looks like on a Smart. There is no upper control arm, it's just a lower one and this solid pipe going into this rigid knuckle here. I may add an upper control arm just for stability's sake, but yeah, it's a very short spring, very light. I can compress that spring by hand. I can. It's not stiff at all. I mean, the engine's in the back, so there's almost no weight in the front, and the whole thing weighs 1,800 pounds. Now this version might weigh less than, might weigh like 2,000, you know, solid ton, but that's probably about it. I got some excess line here just so I, you know, had enough to trim down. But I got all the wiring. Okay, I got like 90%, 95% of the wiring plugged in on the engine. Injectors, got the, oh yeah, I had to lower this down 2 pins. So I got 3 grade 8 bolts per side of the frame. So there's 3 there, and then 3 on the far one, and 3 on the far side of the far one. Might be able to see it. No, those are just running into the abyss. That's all you can see anyways from here. But that's plumbed in. These go directly to the radiator, so that's no problem. I got all the wiring out from the Suburban, even the pedals, just to help figuring out the ignition and everything. That's the back of the Smart as it sits now. You see I left enough clearance for maybe a blower. If I get that far right there. And that's a good 8 inches at least to the top from there to there, maybe even like a foot. The problem is this whole thing right here, it's gonna have to sit up. I might move it out. I figure out with the placement of the radiator. I mean, that's the ECU up there in that box from the Suburban. That's the whole ECU, complete wiring harness and everything. I even have all the rear stuff in my house. Now that's the main fuse box there. Here's the fuse box that goes by the driver's side door that all the wiring for the starter goes into. This is just the starter, the ignition switch connector. So I'm isolating all these so I can just immediately splice that into the Smart and start it just as it sits now. I mean, I'll need to get a little thing of gas to fuel it. But I got a belt, a replacement belt. Got a little wiring right here. You can sort of see where I started to mark the radiator lines. Here. Same on the other side. I had to wait till I had a radiator frame and to take off the mechanical fan because I got an electrical fan. I bought the fan. I bought this in 2 separate pieces, altogether, $200. 50 for this, 150 for this, and all of the radiators and everything. Unfortunately, I didn't even know, because it's been so long since I took this apart, I didn't know that there was an AC radiator. There's usually a towing one, I think for the transmission cooler up front here or something. Up front here. But the Suburban wasn't an off-road edition. So I got those, so I just need to, base the placement of this thing on the, its thickness on how far it goes in the frame. Oh, and of course I need to plug in the transfer case to get the wiring, make sure all the wiring's connected and everything. I mean, I'm close. The wiring's going to be probably the most physically difficult part, but I'm close. Oh, and how could I forget? I forgot one of the most important parts. Oh, this isn't it, but so yeah, I don't even need all of these radiators, these radiators and fans for the Smart, just because all of them come involved or attached, included in the Suburban radiator. The AC lines are built in, coolant's built in. No, the transmission cooler is built into the regular radiator. The transmission has its own. This is the OEM exhaust lines and O2 sensors. So I can just cut those out. I'm going to cut these and run them along the frame. You'll see later. This cross member here, I think I pointed out it before. Let's see. Yeah, this whole cross member. I'm going to take this out once it's not supporting everything and base it around a front differential, or a front transfer case. Sorry, I keep saying the wrong words. A front transfer case. I'm going to place that in there, line it directly up with the center of the hub here, and I'm going to make this thing four-wheel drive. It's going to happen. And it's happening. Make my own custom exhaust manifold. I want the gap. I don't really have the best tools for this, but I'll make it work. It'll happen. And that's essentially it. I'm just about there. Oh, yeah. I think I already told you about that. I'll show you that one when it's done. It's the differential. Yeah. There's the front diff. And I'm even reusing the old exhaust lines out of the Suburban. Works perfectly. Fits perfectly. Perfect size, 3-inch. Might be a little overkill for this, but I have it and it works.
And this is what it looks like when a GoPro cancels a recording mid-process because it's too cold.